Doc, people listen to us for nonsense, and we give it to them in spades. Nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. Some would even say, on our best days, malarkey. Braves, defending champs. Boy, it sure would be a shame if there was no season next year and we were just still the defending champs.
Also, this guy that got hit, how old was he?
46.
What a loser, just sissy man. You just got punched in the face by a 90-year-old man? Come on, dude.
I'll bet Doc is like the Sinbad of Ames, Iowa.
Oh,
because people, I didn't realize, I thought it was just a Doc thing with the corn jokes. Iowa people love corn jokes.
Well, you know what they say, knee high by July, baby.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that's killing in the Midwest right now. I'm sure when that hits their ears, they're like, that Doc, he gets us.
Doc, what do I love more than anything? That's right, an angry football team.
I prefer to think of Warsaw as like a battle of who's the best saw, right? So you have like a sawzall, you have a skill saw, you have a hacksaw, handsaw. It's just a battle of saws till the death.
Welcome to the Spaghetti Junction Boys podcast, coming to you from beautiful Atlanta, Georgia. I am your host, as always, joined here by one Doc Jacobson. Before we get things started here, we want to thank our friends over at Manscaped. Support for the Spaghetti Junction Boys podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code SJBAtlanta at manscaped.com. It's time to take care of yourself, so go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the code SJBAtlanta. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com when you use the code SJBAtlanta. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. So, Doc, we are now sitting here on a Thursday afternoon. We were planning on a Wednesday, and then just chaos broke out.
Absolute chaos. I haven't been in that kind of mindset or a tizzy, as they say, in a long time. My lights were just flickering on and off as if I was the main star in my own horror movie. And it was just terrifying. They would just flicker and flicker and flicker. And then eventually they just shut off entirely for about 2 hours last night. So very upset with the power people, but mostly just the trees. I'm actually in a war against trees right now is what really sucks, because I love trees, but they're just destroying my ability to have power and internet and basic way of life. So, all right, I'd like to amend this. It's not necessarily the trees, it's the dead branches that I have a war against. So when a dead branch falls and hits my power line and I'm out of power for 2 hours, I get pissed.
Yeah, I definitely don't think the power company's to blame. I think they do a tremendous job. Really, really good job. Trees, fantastic. Give us our oxygen. Love that. Big fan of oxygen. Dead tree branches can get fucked, though. They can get out. Take you and your dumb, dead wood body and get fucked. That's what you can do to tree branches.
Yeah, not strong enough to overcome the power of termites or disease or natural aging. Get fucked.
Yeah, so we tried to do this last night, and then as I was giving our intro and read, I read the name of the wrong sponsor. And this was after I was not terribly clean in the rest of the intro, where it sounded like I had two tongues in my mouth while I was trying to talk. And so then I just let out, 11 expletives, and Doc set up the new one. We get going. We're like 2 minutes in, and then Doc freezes. And it took me longer than I'd care to admit to say, realizing that Doc was completely frozen. I was like, come on, get it out. I'm in suspense here.
I hope that video is saved, and I can just have that for a little tickler file. That'd be nice. I need a tickler file.
And so here we are. But something that I still want to touch base on, even though it's been a couple days at this point, is Deion Primetime Sanders is the new head coach at the University of Colorado. He's already made some waves, brought in a 5-star within an hour of taking the job, got a 5-star 2024 commit from Fort Myers, Florida. Transfers are allegedly lining up, same with high school prospects. Took the assistant defensive coordinator and safeties coach from Alabama to be his DC, and took the head coach from Kent State to be his offensive coordinator. Doc, what are your thoughts on this move? And I think power.
bold move. I mean, I love seeing Prime, get up into some primetime football and kind of just be in a bigger program. Big fan of it. What really intrigued me about the whole thing was when he announced that his son is now the starting quarterback. I saw a lot of nepotism there and a lot of I don't know if you should do that. And then all of the corresponding social media to come out of people imitating that then starting quarterback for the Buffs, being like, oh, I guess I don't have a job anymore. But he did throw in that little underlying kind of caveat of, well, he still needs to earn it. But, I mean, Deion's son will be throwing the first pass for the Buffs 2023 football campaign.
Yeah, something tells me that his son is not going to be the first one who gets blamed when things don't go well for the Buffaloes next year. I think he'll be pretty far down the list. I'm unsure about this move for Deion. He's taken some heat for comments that he made where God called him to change HBCUs and so forth. And Bomani Jones was talking about, I guess a parishioner putting in more money into the offering plate changed things or something of that sort. And I think South Florida would have been a more obvious fit, even though that's a group of 5 job instead of a power 5 job. Colorado needs a lot of work. Colorado was having issues with transferring credits for graduate transfers and guys out of the transfer portal, which, of course, in 2022, that is much more important than it was previously. So you need the school to work with you on that end so that you can have guys transfer from all over, because if you're hamstringing yourself there, then it's all betting on high school and junior college kids, and that can be a bit of a longer rebuild. They were behind in NIL, and I believe it was the athletic director said that is either the AD or the president said they didn't have the money yet to for his contract that's agreed upon, but they'll get it. So that's a little concerning in terms of NIL and so forth. I think if Deion took this because it's better to have a bird in the hand. I don't think he was dying for the Colorado job, but it's a Power 5 job. Deion, when he was playing football, when he was playing college football, that was a powerhouse. Colorado was. There's not a ton of in-state talent. You're a bit far away from in-state talent, and that's why I've warned people about the damn Nebraska job for years. Is when Nebraska was good, sure, the offensive linemen were from Nebraska in the Dakotas, but you were living on Texas and California for a lot of the positions that require speed and athleticism. Not that being an offensive lineman doesn't. But Colorado will need to live with Texas and Arizona and Nevada and California, much better states for football prospects, while locking down the handful of Power 5 prospects that come out of Colorado every year. And I think you'll agree with me on this, Doc. This move makes so much sense for Colorado.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and immediately puts them in the conversation, gets them talked about. I mean, immediately, and it's unfortunately kind of like a one-sided deal, right? Like, I don't think Prime is going to have the most success here. Like, this is kind of, if anything, a lateral or maybe a drop back from where he was. Because at least when he was at HBCU, well, what I'm saying is, like, well, obviously, so the job itself, right? Going to Power 5, yes, that's a step up. But the actual ability to be successful at this job and to continue building kind of his coaching career, this is not the move you make to do that. Like, this is, you're going in, like you said, hamstring, not maybe by the university, you're hamstring by the performance. they're in a tough conference now. Like, they're just not going to be a good football team for, I would say, a decade. I mean, I don't care if you've got Prime there promising every, 5-star recruit in the world that they're going to go to the pros. Recruits don't work out sometimes. The transfer portal issues, NIL deals. I mean, it just doesn't seem like it's going to be helpful to Prime himself in building his coaching repertoire, because he's about to go through 5 years of just 2-10 seasons. Like, he might not make a freaking bowl for 5 years.
I do like those first two hires for the coordinators for him, and both those guys can help, especially Sean Lewis in terms of, I believe that's his name. I really hope it is, from Kent State, in terms of how to run a larger program. Colorado is different than running Kent State, but Kent State's different than running Jackson State. They're going to have to get the transfer thing figured out with the school, because that's the only way you can get a quick fix. You see that I know Jeff Collins was going through something completely different at Georgia Tech because he's switching over the personnel from the triple option. But you see that that's not an easy build. I do think that this experience will help Deion, because if he doesn't experience success there, at least he has the experience now. Now, he's not going to – if he gets fired from Colorado down the road, he's not going to parlay that into a big-time SEC or ACC or Big Ten job.
No.
But maybe he can find himself, if this doesn't go well, at another school that has nothing to lose at that point in time. Because being good, obviously, what you want to do. Being bad is still somehow better than an apathetic irrelevancy, which is what Colorado's been. I mean, what reason do you have to tune into Colorado football? They were absolutely dreadful. They allowed more points on defense this year than Georgia had the last 3 years combined.
Yikes.
They were completely irrelevant. You have no reason to think about Colorado football, to tune into Colorado football. If Colorado didn't field a football program this year, it wouldn't have changed the landscape of the sport one iota. And so if you're Colorado and you try and hire, insert, smart hire here, you hire a head coach in the MAC who's doing well, or a coordinator from USC or Texas or something, that's not going to change what you need at Colorado. You need an infusion of energy, an infusion of talent. You need to be relevant. The fact that Colorado is being talked about on show after show after show, there's columns about it, it's all over Twitter. You've already won, Colorado. Even if this doesn't work, you will be left in a better place than where you are now, unless things go awry and you end up on probation, which we have no reason to think that'll be the case, but just wanted that caveat in there. So Colorado's already won, and he's going to get talent there. I don't think anyone's questioning his ability to recruit and to be a guy that kids think is awesome and can relate to and want to go play for. So by putting yourself out there, by getting donations in from the university, because Colorado alum, they also have probably forgot about the damn football team at this point. They're a long way from dominating in the 90s. And now you're going to have more people going to the games. You have, 9 months before the next Colorado football game, if you don't include the spring game? There's going to be a horde of people in Boulder to see that game. It's going to be a madhouse to see Deion Sanders, because other than, I think, a 9-5 year when they won the Pac-12 North, this has been a defunct Power 5 school for 20-25 years.
Yeah, and I just more was pointing out the fact that I think this is it is a huge win for Colorado, but I don't think this is a win for Prime, because I think he could have coached at any Power 5, not any Power 5 school, but there were probably better options for him. And him coaching at Jackson State, all the success that school had in football ran through him, because he brought the players there. He was able to get, the kind of fringe 5-star guys that he knew he could just plug and play and go, and he's playing against worse competition.
He's the number one player in the country, Travis Hunter.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is, like, he has a better way to shine his his coaching style and his abilities coaching are better shown and displayed in that HBCU league than they will be at Colorado because there's so many issues at Colorado. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Luckily, they will be patient with Prime because they have to. There's a huge buyout in there where it's going to be pretty difficult for Prime to leave for, let's say, Mike Norvell somehow just submarines next year and goes 3-9 and is let go. Prime's not going to be the next head coach at Florida State. And his buyout does go down as the years go on. But those two are going to be married to each other for at least 3-4 years minimum. And so he's going to have time to get a class in. And next year is going to be exciting at the start because it's the start of the era of Prime. But they're going to be bad. If he gets a couple transfers, he's able to take guys like Travis Hunter, like Wildman and so forth to Colorado and get some, recruits at the last minute. Transfer classes are always tough, or transition classes, I'm sorry. Maybe you can get to 4 or 5 wins and find those in the Pac-12. They'll have to be patient with them, and luckily I think they will be. I want to attention after we all the way west, just briefly, an Atlanta sports minute right here. Desmond Ridder is going to start on Sunday for the Falcons in lieu of Marcus Mariota. The most amazing thing about this transition is in the draft process. I heard numerous times before the draft that Desmond Ridder reminded scouts of Marcus Mariota, and the Falcons just said, if you can have one, why not have two? How do you think Desmond Ridder is going to fare with the time he's given this year, Doc?
I like him, dude. He's gritty. He's a good player. I thought he played really well. Yeah, it's preseason, but he didn't make like a shit ton of mistakes. He didn't look like he didn't belong on the field. We saw Mr. Irrelevant, my boy Brock Purdy from Iowa State, tear it up against the Jets. Was the Jets, right? Or whoever the 49ers are playing. I think it's a good time to do it. I was just about to look up the standings. Like, are the Falcons basically knocked out? Like, are they just kind of a dying dog, or are they still fighting to possibly get a wild card bid or maybe win the division?
The Falcons are a game and a half back of the Buccaneers.
Okay.
And
So
the Falcons have 4 games left, and the Buccaneers have 5 games left. The Falcons have a bye on Sunday before playing the Saints the following Sunday.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. It makes it part of it because it's such a weird time of year to do this, right? Like, Mariota's been fine. I mean, he hasn't been awesome, but he's not, lost them games by any means. The injuries to Kyle Pitts and their defense being suspect has definitely hurt them in games, but maybe there's something wrong with Mariota. Maybe he's got a bum ankle, high ankle sprain or something, just taking a lot of damage and needs time, and they're just kind of in that transition period a little bit sooner than they thought they would be. I don't know. It just seems weird, right? It's a weird time of year just to do this if you're still in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, it's interesting because if you're out and you have a guy who you don't think is going to be your quarterback, which you can't think that Marcus Mariota is going to be the long-term fit there. There can't be a ton of confidence in that, even though we're living in this really weird age of resurging quarterbacks where you have Geno Smith, who was in purgatory for 7 years or so, and now is one of the best quarterbacks in football with the Seahawks. Maybe it's a Seahawks thing. Ryan Tannehill, who was the epitome of is he not for 6-7 years in Miami before becoming a really good quarterback in Tennessee, and although he has since fallen off as well. But when you have those types of quarterbacks, like a Mitch Trubisky with the Steelers this year, where they had a pretty quick trigger to go to Kenny Pickett, it would make more sense to do this if you're out of the playoff hunt. Maybe they're thinking that this will be a bit of a charge into the team, considering in the last 5 games, the Falcons have only scored 20 points one time. So maybe they're thinking he can do a little bit something different. There's all the tape in the world on Marcus Mariota. You have no NFL tape on Desmond Ridder. Maybe he comes in there with a different energy, rejuvenates some things. Who knows? One thing it does make a little sense to do it before your bye week. The Falcons just have an obnoxiously late bye week. I mean, my God, we're week 14, and that's the bye week? Or 15, 16, week 13.
Yeah, 13.
It's late as shit. The thing that I love about seeing a young quarterback come in for a franchise that is starved for good quarterback play, which the Falcons really haven't seen it. Matt Ryan, I know a lot of people were saying it's not his fault. Whether it's his fault or not, toward the end of his Falcons tenure, he didn't look great. So you're still not seeing good quarterback play, regardless of whose fault it is. But what I love is when young quarterbacks come in and fans have the lowest of barometers for what they want to see. I mean, Dolphins fans, when Tua Tagovailoa in his rookie year came in against the Eagles in, a blowout, just made like 2 completions, and Dolphins fans are like, oh, shit, yeah. Kenny Pickett runs for 15 yards while throwing 3 picks, and Steelers fans are like, Yin's got our quarterback. And now, I mean, Desmond Ridder, he could honestly go like 13 for 25. But if he makes 2 wow plays, then Falcons fans are going to be buzzing. He escapes a sack and then throws for a first down. We got our guy. The future. There's going to be just spray paint on 85. The Riddler. It's going to be fantastic. I mean, he scrambles. He makes one guy miss. Someone's going to name their son Desmond. Like the excitement that people have just because a rookie quarterback does anything. It's like when grandparents are looking at their first grandchild and they're like, less than 1, and they're like, oh, he shit his pants? Oh my good. Like everything's amazing. And that's how fans view young quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean,
if he does absolutely nothing, then they will not give him any patience. Like if he doesn't have a wild play, they're going to see 1 quarter of him and go, nope, done. Draft another one.
Yeah, it just the whole idea behind getting your quarterback ready to play is to have the confidence to play and to feel like they're not, freaking out all the time. And now you put this kid in when they're a game and a half behind the Bucs to make the playoffs. I mean, let's be honest, they're not going to make the wild card. The NFC South is so bad that they don't even have a shot at making the wild card. But they played 2 division opponents in the last 4 games of the season. They're not out of it. I mean, there's still hope unless this is just the Falcons, rolling over and saying "pet my belly" because they just think they're dead and gone. I mean, that's just so weird. There is one thing that needs to be done though, and next year when Riddler is the starter, if they're not like making a lot of Batman inside jokes and like playing off of the Riddler and shit, they're missing out entirely. Like they got to step into that heel role of just being, the anti-hero or whatever you want to call it, but just, everybody else is Batman and we're going to take them down kind of deal.
You bring up the schedule, Doc. The schedule's not horrifying for the Falcons.
No.
You have the Saints, who are awful. You have the Ravens, who could have Tyler Huntley at that time and have not been playing good football. If you watch that team play football, but you couldn't tell that they were the Ravens, you'd be like, oh, that team's horrible. We're so used to the Ravens being good that we're just like, they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
The Cardinals, I mean, God, we know what Cliff Kingsbury is in the second half of the season. And then you close out with the Bucs at home. So you get a chance you're a game and a half back now. You have a chance to gain a game there. Meanwhile, the Bucs, they go to San Francisco this Sunday, and then they welcome the red, scorching hot Bengals the following Sunday. And so you have a chance. You have a chance. And I'm with you. I probably would have kept riding it out with Mariota, but I guess this stretch of 5 games was too much for them to bear.
There's got to be something they're not reporting with like an injury or something with Mariota. It's just such a weird time of year to do it. And it's really unfair to Riddler too, because they're going to be just constantly, grading him on these performances in these 4 games when it's really not his turn to be in yet. It's crazy.
Well, speaking of poor 5-game stretches, it was a rough week for the Gambling Dans last week. All 3 of us lost our whammies. Ben went 1-4. Not to be outdone, Doc. You went 0-5. I went 3-2, but yet again, for the 4th straight week, lost my whammy. So on the year, Doc is currently at 43% winning percentage. I'm at 58%. Ben is at 53%. Doc, you got to change some things up. You were hitting your stride. You had a fantastic mid-season to get out of the early season slump, and then you fell off a cliff. Do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first? This is on you. You write.
I'm going first. I gotta write this ship. Nobody else will write this ship for me. It's on me.
Oh, Captain, my captain.
Oh, Captain, my captain. If I had a desk, I'd stand on it, but then you'd be looking at my ankles. So we're not going to do that today. Pick number 1 here. Dolphins -3 at the Chargers. I love this. Dolphins are hitting the 67% against the spread. So when they're winning big. And the Chargers defense, listen to this. Points per game allowed, 30th in the league. Yards per game allowed, 26th in the league. Yards per play, 31st in the league. That is a bottom 4 defense right there. Dolphins offense, number 8 in the league, points per game, 24.9. Number 4 in the league, yards per play, 100 yards per game, and 2nd in the league in yards per play at 6.3. Leads to big plays. Chargers defense gives up big plays. I just see the Dolphins running all over them there. Pick number 2, I've got the Vikings +2.5. They are at the Detroit Lions. Vikings are 3-2 in their last 5 games against the spread. They're hitting at an 84%. Or that was while on the road as well, 3-2 for the year. They're hitting at 84% against the spread. And the 3-2 on the road was their major win against the spread when they were the only time that they weren't favorited. I'm trying to say this correctly. The only time they weren't favorited, they won on the road against the Bills. We all know that game was crazy, went to overtime. That was just a freak game. But the Vikings showed that they are very good at playing that underdog role on the road. Detroit has statistically the worst defense in the league. They're 32 or 31 in every defensive category. So I love the Vikings in this position on the road and the underdog. So give me Vikings +2.5.
All right, Doc, I'm going to get it started in an Empire state of mind. Give me the Giants +6.5 here. Now, this is a really strange line for me because at first glance, I wrote down Eagles -6.5. Said, all right, perfect. Love the Eagles here. That makes a lot of sense. I almost suckered myself, Doc. I almost did it to my damn self because as I started getting into the numbers, I was like, that's not great, but I'll look at something else. That's not great. And the evidence was overwhelming. So I flipped my pick to the Giants +6.5. The Giants have outright won the last 2 meetings at home between these two. Philadelphia may be 11-1 straight up on the year, but they're only 7-5 against the spread. Meanwhile, the Giants are 4-0 against the spread after a loss. They haven't won a game since November 13th, even though last week was technically a tie, but I'm counting that. 4-0 after a loss. Resilient. The Giants are also 7-1 against the spread as underdogs this year. 7-1. Meanwhile, the Eagles are 1-4 against the spread on the road. One of the worst teams in football at covering on the road. Meanwhile, the Giants are 5-2 against the spread at home. Take the G-men and the points. Next pick. Give me Jets plus 9.5. In the Bills' last 10 games, they've only won 3 of those by more than 9.5 points. They're playing with fire lately. They barely beat Cleveland. They barely beat Detroit. And that was after losing 2 straight games, including one to the Jets, Jets. The Jets defense will keep them in anything. In their last 8 games, they're allowing just 15.3 points per game. Robert Saleh has them playing really good ball on that side. All they had to do is find a little bit of an infusion of magic. They've got that in Mike White. Mike White and Zonovan Knight have provided a spark to the offense, and Garrett Wilson may be a star. He's young, but he's gone over 100 yards 3 times so far this year. He has good chemistry with Mike White. I know they dropped one late to the Vikings last week, but I still like what that offense is doing since they made the change. The Jets, as I just mentioned, lost last week. Like their counterparts, the G-men, they're also 4-0 against the spread after a loss. This one stays close. I don't think the Jets go 2-0 against the Bills this year, but they've already proven they can hang with them and beat them. I think this will be around a touchdown game. So take the points with the Jets, 9.5.
I like the thought process there. Pick number 3, got the Dallas Cowboys hosting the Houston Texans. Almost mixed up the 2 nicknames there for the 2 different Texas cities. I'm taking the under, 45.5. Just really can't see Houston doing anything. Statistically, one of the worst offenses in the league. I mean, they are the worst team against the spread. They just get beat left, right, and center. I mean, they just get worked, whooped, and handed their behinds to them. I wanted to take the Cowboys at 16.5, but anything that's high is just kind of frightening. So I kind of figured, Dallas is just – they're just going to score, but they're not going to blow them out 52-0. So I really like the number at 45.5. That hook there keeps you honest. And just don't see Houston doing anything offensively. And Dallas's defense is good. So I think Dallas's defense just boa constricts that offense, shuts them down, keeps them to a field goal, and we're looking at a 35-3 game. I mean, this is going to be a nice under. Easy for the day. Pick number 4. I got the Ravens plus 2.5. I know we were talking Ravens earlier. They're at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has not been good this year. But Pittsburgh is averaging 13.8 points per game, while Baltimore is averaging 23.8 points per game. Yes, that average is heavily influenced by Lamar Jackson and everything he does on the field. But this Hundley guy, he's no schlub. He's not out there throwing 10 picks a game, pulling a Jameis Winston. He can play the game. He can run a little bit. He's kind of like a Dr. Evil mini-me kind of situation. He's a mini Lamar. Not in size, but in overall offensive productivity. So I just see the Ravens winning this game outright, and it's not going to be a shootout probably. It'll probably be a low-scoring game, but give me the Ravens, who love to win close games. Also, Baltimore defense is only giving up 19.7 points per game. So they're just going to hold that Pittsburgh offense steady, and it's going to be a close game.
Doc, I hate when we fight. I hate it. But give me the Steelers minus 2.5. Listen, I know, but this is an 8-4 Ravens team versus a 5-7 Steelers team. That's a sneaky line. Sneaky line. It was at 1.5 when I originally liked it. It's up to 2.5 now. I'm not alone. The Ravens are 2-5 straight up when Huntley takes the majority of the snaps since he's been a Raven. 2-5 straight up. The Steelers have won the last 4 overall in this series. The Steelers are trending. We wrote them off at the beginning of the year, and they are just awful to watch. I mean, Najee Harris does not look good. Kenny Pickett has his moments, but is just chaotic to watch. But they have TJ Watt back. They've won 3 out of their last 4 straight up. Meanwhile, the Ravens are trending in the opposite direction. Last week, a 10-9 win over horrible Denver. Before that, it was a 28-27 loss to the Jaguars. Before that, it was a ho-hum 13-3 win over the awful Panthers. I do not love this Ravens offense as it currently stands. I like what the Steelers have been doing lately. I like the Sharps being on my side here. Give me the Steelers lay the 2.5. Next one. Give me Vikings Lions over 52.5. In 7 games at Ford Field this year, the total is going over by an average of 9.4 points per game. The over is hit in 5 out of the 7 games at Ford Field, so it is flying over the total. Both of these teams are 2-1 at hitting the over so far this year in divisional games, and that's in a division where the other 2 teams are the Packers' awful offense and the Bears. 5 of the last 6 times these two have played, the total has been over 52 points. They average a total of 57 points over those 6 games. The Lions have scored 30 points 6 times this year. They've scored 40 points twice, including a week ago. The Vikings have scored 30-plus points in 3 out of their last 6 games, and they're giving up 27 points per game in that time as well. This screams points. The Lions' defense is awful. The Lions can score. They have playmakers everywhere. Kirk Cousins, sneaky MVP candidate. Not getting the talk that he deserves, but he does. Justin Jefferson having a tremendous year. They still have Dalvin Cook and Madison. They've got the guys. It's going to be an absolute slugfest. I'm looking at a 38-31 game. I think late third, early fourth, we are over. All that matters is we get there. Minnesota, Detroit over 52.5.
Does that 7 games hitting the over include that weird Bills-Browns game that had to get played there because of the snow? If it doesn't, that game went over as well, just to help you out.
Thank you, Doc. You're a beautiful man. I forgot about that stupid-ass game, and I was like, oh, Doc's coming here to rain on my parade. But no, you just added another round to the gap.
Blah, 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 blah. Get the get. All right, whammies.
Horrible GIF when we figure out how to do GIFs.
Whammies. All right, my whammy pick here is Cardinals plus 1.5. They're playing the Patriots. The Patriots are just not good. Not good. The Cardinals are averaging 22 points per game here. Patriots are averaging 20.8 points per game. Mac Jones has been shown to struggle this year. I think Kyler kind of breaks out here. Kyler kind of goes, all right, put this game on me. We're going to have a last kind of drive to win the game. I just see the Cardinals winning this game. I'm being a future teller. I'm a median. I'm seeing the future. Kyler, much like he did against the Raiders when I took the Raiders weeks ago, is going to formulate, by all means necessary, a fourth quarter comeback and win this game. Give me Cardinals plus 1.5.
Well, Doc, while you loaded me up on the last pick, you took some wind out of my sails when you opened up with Dolphins -3 because you spoke so beautifully. You had so many statistics. And this is my whammy. This is the one I feel best about, and I can't back it up like you, but I'm going to try. The Dolphins are 3-1 straight up away from Miami when Tua plays the whole game this year. They're playing very well on the road. Their one loss was a week ago to San Francisco. The Chargers are 1-3 straight up in their last 4 home games, and they've lost 3 out of 4 games overall. Tua last week, there's no other way to say it. He looked awful, just awful, particularly in the first half. Receivers were running wide open as they have been all year, whether it's Waddle, whether it's Tyreek Hill, whether it's Trent Sherfield, on and on. A lot of guys were getting open, and Tua was missing high. You have to think that he fixes that this week and gets a little bit, leveled down now. The Chargers give up over 5.5 yards per carry this year, which is dangerous for a Mike McDaniel rushing team. Even though they only ran the ball 7 times all game against San Francisco. You have to think Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert will have a good game. You have to think that'll open up the play action for Tua. This one just keeps climbing in the Dolphins' direction. It may get to 4 by the time this kicks off Sunday night. So I'm with you. Give me Dolphins. Dolphins -3. All right, well, that's going to do it for us. These picks will go up on Twitter to remind you of what and where they are. Thanks, as always, for listening. We'll see you next week.